let me give you an example what the typical first minute of a presentation at a Foundry conference looks like.
Let's go.
Hello, my name is Bababab. I'm working for company XYZ, and today I'm so happy to be here to present you our new product, Bababab. This product will blow your mind, but first let me introduce my company. Here we are company XYZ, and here in that presentation you can see a very nice picture of our front entrance. Behind that entrance door, so many people work there, and we have also more and front entrance doors in some other countries. And here are 20 logos of the companies you all know that we sell stuff to. And yeah, that's not 1 minute, that's 5 minutes. And
no, sorry, yeah, you said something. I fell asleep a minute ago. Once upon a time there was, okay? We know most stories, fairy tales, a lot of things start exactly like that. So welcome, dear listener, to this episode about storytelling. We are going to dig into storytelling and give examples and how to structure this. Storytelling is a technique to package information in a way that it stays in your mind. For us working sales, it is a way to keep people interested enough to listen that carefully so they understand that you are top of the game, king on the seven, or the guy to talk to, basically, to give you that chance to make that business. So I'm very, very excited about this. So, dear Fabian, where are we on storytelling?
I really love that topic because storytelling makes everything we do more interesting. Of course, it leaves out a bit of information, but it makes the rest of the information, so the core of the information, stuck to your brain that you remember even years later what it has to do. Let me give you an example. In one of our last podcasts, we talked about microspraying. And one big advantage of microspraying is that you extend the tool lifetime because you avoid the thermal shocks. And I can explain to you how the thermal fatigue works with expanding and shrinking of the metal surfaces in comparison to the deeper steel levels. And that causes a lot of mechanical stretches that lead to fatigue. And you probably won't remember that. But let's do it with storytelling. And I will tell you, do you remember last summer when you were at the lake? Did you just jump in the water, or did you slowly ease into it that your body temperature can adjust to the water temperature of the lake? Yeah, you probably would go in slower, you don't get a heart attack from the cold water. And it's just a 20 or 10 degrees temperature difference depending how warm the lake is. Imagine having a 200 or 300 degree temperature difference between the water and the tool steel. What's not good for your heart rate is also not good for a tool steel. And now you see, oh, microspraying is really the better thing because you're not jumping in the lake, you're easing into it. Quite simple. And you understood what it's about.
The basic principles, right?
Yeah.
The basic principles. I mean, microspraying, but if you have something very, very complex, very, very, like a machine, how do you do that?
For example, for machines, you can tell about your machine, oh, we do have the best interface, and you look at our HMI panel and we do have 32 axes in that direction and 42 on the other. And I will tell you, who cares? That's a feature. And what you have to focus is on the benefits for the customer and make it intriguing. I'll give you another example. Back in the days when an MP3 player was the height of the technology, phones were capable of sending MMS. Internet was too expensive on your phones.
You're speaking about my childhood, when I was growing up. Or are you mocking me for my first cell phone?
Yeah, no, I had the same cell phone, and growing up in my teenage years, having my first MP3 player was amazing. And then, as you probably know, Apple came around with their first iPod. And then a short time later, Microsoft came out with their Soon player. And they even held a funeral for the iPod because they said, hey, we have 30 gigabytes of storage for your MP3s. Do you remember the Soon player? No. Because 30 gigabytes, that means something for someone who knows how big his MP3 collection is and has to convert how many songs there are. The Apple messaging was easier. 5,000 songs in your pocket. Easy, intriguing, and a simple user interface which also helped. And that's the same messaging. Microsoft was talking about the features of their product, but that feature doesn't relate to anything on the consumer side. 5,000 songs in your pocket, that's a benefit for the consumer. And that's why, besides the usually very good marketing from Apple, they won that competition.
And they did it fair. I mean, you were mocking me. I'm going to mock you a little bit. But if you look at music, for example, there's only 3 or 4 rock bands to listen to. They all made, 5 good records. That's 60 tunes per rock band and 5. So it's 300 songs and you're good to go. I mean, that's Red Hot Chili Peppers, that's Metallica, that's Rammstein, and maybe someone else for you. So I mean, I go with Apple, guys. But now we get to Professor Staffan, right? Let me tell you a little bit of a story, another storytelling. When I was 4 years old, I sold my first thing. It was a painting. My dad was a guide in flowers up north in Sweden, and people were traveling there, and he was showing them a lot of flowers and stuff. So, and one time I actually had a couple of crayons and a very nice paper from a lady that joined this, made that, and I sold it for a Hershey bar of chocolate. And I believed many years that I was the best sales guy in the globe. Started my consultancy. And learned I suck in sales. Because I thought a big mouth and a lot of talking and nice anecdotes was actually selling. It was a pretty harsh landing, I would say, to realize this, because I just put all my savings into a consultancy with a friend. I left my job at Ericsson to do this. The same month we opened our doors, Ericsson laid off 60,000 people. So as you can imagine, pretty dark times in Sweden. Then we two idiots, a consultancy. It turned out fairly okay, because we worked that hard. But I started to study. I started to study rhetorics, how actually to build up a story. Then I studied decision psychology. Then I studied actually brain science, how we remember things and how we actually learn things and all these things. I spent 4 years, probably more academic points, not registered, than my 5 years in university. And things started to get better and better and better. And the conclusion of all this, my journey into psychology and everything, basic fundamental is the storytelling and how you actually build it up. A lot of words there, Fabian, but
yeah,
you see...
Definitely a lot of words. And I think you have to give us more than just one sentence from your research.
Yeah. First of all, 70% of all communication between human beings is non-spoken. So how we speak, our voices, body posture, all these things matter. The second thing is a little bit difficult to comprehend, but you have a big brain and a small brain. And the small brain is a logical one. It has 128 kilobytes in it. It's very small. But then you have a big brain, and the big brain is living in now. The small brain is living 0.5 seconds after the big brain. So when you see an athlete making a 3-point score in basket, if he would think, he will miss. It's the big brain that actually take these super fast decisions, and then the small brain is actually arranging things in a logical way. So to win people's minds and hearts, you have to get their big brains first, because then they will rationalize why they go with you, your proposal, your alternative, your political party, whatever. You have to make a storytelling that makes, and this is so interesting, when you are getting people's attention is very difficult in a brain. It's very small, actually, the attention span. And very short as well.
And it's getting shorter every time because of all the social media reels. I think on TikTok it's somewhere around 6 seconds.
Yeah, you have to win the 6 seconds to win 60 seconds to win 60 minutes. That's the way people say. And to sell something for 450,000 euros, as I do, you definitely need more than 60 minutes. So you have to do this ladder. And the interesting thing, if you scan the brain, you see that the big brain is actually small areas start to vibrate with 40 hertz. And it could be 5, it could be 10, it could be 3, depending on how interesting this is and what parts of the brain that you are actually attracting. Okay, that was more wordy. But the thing is, basic A1, 80% of everything is how you structure your storytelling to win the 60 seconds, to get 1 minute, to get 60 minutes. Okay, interested?
Of course, let's go. So what is the first thing that we have to cancel? Because we've seen so many presentations out on all the conferences that we really have to rant about them.
Everything. We're talking about winning the first minute so you get that 1 hour meeting. Okay, that's setting the stage.
I think, let me give you an example what the typical first minute of a presentation at a Foundry conference looks like.
Let's go.
Hello, my name is Bababab. I'm working for company XYZ, and today I'm so happy to be here to present you our new product, Bababab. This product will blow your mind, but first let me introduce my company. Here we are company XYZ, and here in that presentation you can see a very nice picture of our front entrance. Behind that entrance door, so many people work there, and we have also more and front entrance doors in some other countries. And here are 20 logos of the companies you all know that we sell stuff to. And yeah, that's not 1 minute, that's 5 minutes. And
sorry, you said something. I fell asleep 1 minute ago.
Yeah, but that's the typical presentation, the Foundry conference. And it's so boring. And one thing I can give you is that when the attention is lost, you basically lost everything afterwards because people never tune in.
I'll say it again, 6 seconds, 60 seconds, 60 minutes. Think like that. Do a plan. You know, when I started off this, we're talking about ages ago, and started to be interested in how you actually structure your storytelling. The thing is that in Sweden, rhetorics and stuff like this has always been regarded like a trick and a way to fool people and a little bit sketchy. But in the US, they have been taught this in school since 1940? And they even have, competition in the discussion clubs and all this, which is how they practice. And here comes a thing that I will say in the end. You have to practice. You have to practice like crazy. You don't play a perfect guitar by picking up a guitar and looking at YouTube. You actually have to practice. Anyway, you need to remember 5 steps. And please contact me afterwards if you find this interesting. I can give more and more and more. I can talk about this for weeks and ages because it has helped me in my career. And to brag a little bit, I've sold for a couple of 100 million euros in my career. So I'm not that useless in this. But I'm useless in many other things. You have 5 steps, and these steps are not invented by me. They are invented by the old Greeks. Right? So these are 2,200 years old stuff that we're going through.
And I think also one thing that travels with time, that things that are around for a very long time are very likely to stay on for a very long time after that because they're way more relevant and describe it in the best way.
Especially in this day and age. Anyway, so point number 1, a presentation. Point number 2, this has happened. Point number 3, our cause. Point number 4, evidence. And point number 5, closure. So 5 steps. You can find them all over the internet. You don't need to have a PR firm telling you this. So let me give some examples and we discuss this. Presentation. Strangely enough, people make business with people they like. People don't, on a general basis, like very cocky people that comes in and start to brag about things. I have seen brilliant speeches in the US Congress by Joe Biden, 95, that starts very humble. Our own prime minister used to say, "Hello, my name is Göran. I work for the government." Even if he's going to really go into deep in very complex questions. So if you start to look at it, a humble intro about you. When someone asks you to give a speech, yeah, you might be a doctor, you might be a superstar in your own field, but the first sentence should always be humble. Thank you for being here. My name is Staffan Zetterström. The first time for me in the S2P conference, and I really, really appreciate this chance to describe what I'm interested in, and hope to see some more questions after my presentation. That was how I started an S2P conference last year.
I think that's also the important thing behind that is that you get yourself on eye level with the ones you're speaking to. That it's, I'm here to give you something, and here I am. Please listen to me. I'm begging for your time, because time isn't free. Even though, for example, you can participate for free or watch a video for free, it has to be worth it. And by someone saying, "Hey, that's for you," that goes a long way. And it's not that situation you had at university or at school where someone's standing in front of you telling you, "I'm better than you. You have to listen."
Then you're a bully.
Yeah, exactly.
And who listens to a bully? Then the 6 seconds is over and you're out.
Yeah, you're already lost.
You
just entered the stage and you already lost your audience.
Yeah. And then the second step, let's say that you do this sentence. We're talking about 5-10 seconds, something here. And then you get to the next point. This has happened. And this is not where you are to introduce your opinions, your alternatives. You're setting the stage. Think like this. We know that Dieselgate, blah, 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 happened. And that led to something. A led to B, led to C. Refrain from having the whole alphabet, starting with when aluminum was invented and then go through a history lesson in 10 minutes. You're setting the stage and you do this. We're speaking about a 6-minute speech here. You do it fairly quick, actually, with 3, maybe 4 consecutive things affecting each other. So people start to nod and feel like, yeah, I know that, I read that in the paper, and you get the buy-in. This is what you're doing. You get the buy-in. Now they really start to think, wonder what he will come up with next. What does this guy want? Because this is the natural reaction that people have. It's a typical decision psychology in it to it.
Yeah, also you have to get the frame right. So what are you talking about, and get everybody on the same level, because not everybody knows everything. So you have to get them into an part of funnel to get the information to them and say, okay, for what its usage point is, and especially what problem are you solving for that customer?
Yeah, because now we get into our cause. So given setting the stage, giving the situation that everybody's nodding, yes, we are in this situation. Yeah, it's nasty in the die casting world. Yeah, we need to find more markets. Then you present what we think. We think like this. We should skip casting for automotive because the margins are bad and blah, 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 and a lot of things. We should skip casting aluminum. We should start with brass. I don't know. But, I mean, there are a lot of things we can take as an example. But you present your cause, that we think that this is not the situation we want to be in. Our suggestion to get out of this situation is to do X, Y, Z. What happens then? This is actually the smallest section in your speech. The typical diecaster or engineer, he starts to describe these alternatives down to circuit board level, software level, and stuff, and everybody falls asleep and thinks that this is just too complicated. Keep it simple, as people say. And then you get into the longer thing, the counter evidence. This is where you kill your opposition. Okay? I repeat myself a little bit. You're humble. You get people to think, this is a guy I like. I can listen to him. He sets the stage saying blah, blah, blah. I start to nod, and he sees that you are nodding. And he feels like, okay, I got the audience. Now, we want to do this. And then you go, that was a tough sale. And then you get to the counter evidence. Because what's happening? Our turnover is declining. Our margins are declining. So we'll go out in business in 8 years. Yeah. That's pretty nasty counter evidence. But why should we be successful in a business we don't know? And here comes where you should have been working like crazy. Well, the volumes in telecom are XYZ. I have already contacted XYZ. Mr. P says, and Mr. N says, and Mr. E says. And we will get probably some trial quotes in the next month. I'm working on it. All right. So you think in ahead. You know your enemies in the crowd. Everybody knows their enemies. And they will say, you're not skilled enough. You don't have the opportunity. We don't have the equipment. We don't have the money. We don't have blah, blah, blah. You list all of these and you pick out the 4 best one, the top 3 or 4 top. And then you make your counter evidence. Why is money not a problem? Why is competence not a problem? Why is this not a problem? So you actually don't, do hand-waving arguments. Well, that's not a problem. Okay, then you have lost. But you have something you're saying to this. We want more nuclear power because it's more stable, because we never had, and then someone says nuclear power is very dangerous. Okay, we never had an earthquake in Sweden. So we don't see a tsunami. So it cannot be Japan. We have the 4th generation with these concrete pockets, so we cannot be a new Harrisburg. And we definitely don't do graphite. So Chernobyl, no, won't happen. So what are the risks? So you kill all these arguments while you're speaking before you see the hand up in the air. You kill it, you kill it, you kill it. And 80% of the listeners, they will feel like, oh, this guy is prepared. I'm not raising my hand to make a fool of myself in this audience, right?
Yeah.
Do you follow?
Yeah, I think it's important to give the information in a way that is accessible, as you said in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And if you have an industry like our foundry industry, which is very old industry, just from the first metal was used in casting very few thousand years ago. And also if you look at the age demographic of our foundries, that is 50% is older than 50. Getting new ideas into their minds is quite hard. So you have to get the liking first, then you get the information along, because otherwise you will hit the wall.
Yeah, and you have to think. We'll get to this because it's so important with the preparation. But anyway, you had the arguments. You know your enemies. You know what they will ask, and you shoot down the first top 3 of them. And if someone then dares to raise the arm for number 4, you say, please, Helmut, could we take that over a cup of coffee, because I see my time is running out for this short presentation. Elegant and nice. And people will say that, oh, that Helmut guy, he's just trying to ruin this. He's not nice. I don't want to be a friend with him. You see, there's a way to control this. You always
have these Helmuts sitting in the first row and shooting everything down that doesn't come from them, because they love hearing themselves asking stupid questions that are only relevant to them.
Yeah, they want to be relevant because you're a threat. You're the new guy. It doesn't matter if you're 78 years old or 15 years old, but you're the new guy with the idea, with the ambition. And that will be the threat to the old guys that don't dare to do anything, because if they don't do anything, they cannot be criticized, right? Status quo.
Absolutely.
But
or just want to keep their status that they developed somewhere 50 years ago and coasted on that.
Yeah. Typical, the way to recognize them is that 1 minute in any conversation they refer to the old boss they had when they were employed. Yeah, these were the days, right?
20 years ago, when I was still an active professor, then we did things differently.
Yeah, and that was much better. We are getting to the closure of this now. Okay, I repeat myself. You have presented yourself, you have set the stage, you have talked about your cause, and you have given counter evidence and shot everybody down. The surface is clean. You're the captain of this fleet. What to do? Keep it short. The closing should be the thing that keeps hanging in the air. It's the most delicate sentence to actually do. Now, why am I blah-blahing this much about this? Well, because we, the salespeople, especially in our industry, I've noted, loves to talk. And we just keep on talking. And that's not what you're going to do in the closure. You should have a nice sentence that gets, as they say on television, hanging in the air. These were my few minutes around this. You have heard what I want to do. You have heard how I put it, the alternatives, and why I think this is a smart thing. And I hope that we can unite around this to discuss this more in detail. Thank you. And let it be quiet.
Yeah. And that should be the invitation to follow up in a personal conversation over a beer later.
Yes. It's a big freaking fishing hook.
Yeah. If you do it simple and easy and accessible,
Yeah.
you're leaving out details that has to be there. But many people are interested in that detail after they understood the general principle. So you can dig down with these individual people in detail, and that's something they will also remember because they're connected with your face, with your personality, and they're really interested in these things.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's an easy thing with 5 steps. It has been working for 2,200 years, probably before, but written down for 2,200 years. Once you start to do this, you will start to see dramatic improvement in how you actually get it your way. This is the thing. But there's always a but. You have to practice. And really to start this learning curve. And is it difficult? Do you need to call a consultant? No. But you should buy a big sketchbook. I will show you. Right? Believe it or not, here it is. This book, this is maybe number 32 of my rhetorics books. I do everything in this book. And why do I do it? Because every time I'm holding a short speech, I do the keywords, I go through it, I write it down maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times, especially the last sentence. And then I put maybe almost equally energy on the first one. So this is how I work. Now, you have a sketchbook. When you start to be interested in this, you start to realize that you start to analyze other people's speeches. Turn on the news. Instead of having a bear fiddling with your telephone, take your sketchbook and choose one interview and look, how did people do? Did they do well? Was it tremendous? Why was it well? Because they have a great introduction, they had a great setting of the stage, they had a great argument for something, they had a great, something. Why did you appeal to these 3-4 minutes in the news instead? And then you actually write it down. Why was it great? Because they did. And you start to learn, you start to notice, even commercials,
Or do it the other way around. If there's a terrible presentation, write down what are the things that really was appalling to you and try to avoid them.
Yeah, learn. And that's good with this day and age, because all the media we have around us, you can pick out 100 examples in 1 hour.
Yep. And especially a good thing is if you want to train and go on YouTube and look for information on a totally different topic where you don't have any prior knowledge. And then you see who can explain it in a good way that you understand the overall principle and get some glimpse of deeper information because you don't have any existing knowledge about that topic.
One of my favorites is actually Winston Churchill. I mean, the guy, he was a walking quote generator. And he said, when to speak 3 minutes, I prepare 3 hours. When to speak 3 hours, I prepare 3 minutes. And this is actually the thing. The shorter, the more you have to think about what you are going to say and how you're going to say it. Because, I mean, it comes naturally. If someone is saying, now Staffan is going to present something for 6 minutes, most people say, okay, 6 minutes, then I can listen with one ear. I have my Facebook here. You have to be very precise. You have to put in that fishing hook into the water and drag it slowly. So every pike is following you up. So you have the buy-in for the next hour. That's the whole thing. I think I still, 55 years old, spend hours and hours for a meeting. Yes, I do. When it's important.
Especially, you have to tailor it to your audience. It's a different conversation if you're having a sales meeting, trying to sell a product, trying to sell a service, or you're on stage at a conference explaining a certain topic, or you're teaching a school class about how cool the foundry industry is. There's a difference. You have to prepare and also imagine what will be the typical questions or what are the pain points, the trigger points for my audience.
But
if
this
you
is
have
so interesting
6-year-old
because
school kids, they have a totally different view on the things than the 55-year-old foundry executive at a conference.
But the model holds true, because the 6-year-old, the first thing they will say when you step through that door is, what's your name? Right?
Yeah.
Someone is
what
going
do you do? What's your favorite animal? These are the most important thing.
Yeah.
And then
so you have the introduction. That's why you say you're Prime Minister of Sweden. Hello, my name is Göran.
And you can try it, for example, if you go to a party and you don't know too many people going around, introduce yourself and say, hi, my name is that, and my favorite animal is a bear. I don't know. Everybody will remember your name because that's the one with the bear.
Yeah. I have another negative example. It's not a friend, it's someone I knows. Had an Italian parent and walked around and called himself half Italian. It showed out that he's been spending 3 weeks in Rimini once when he was 15. So he was called a fake Italian after 20 minutes. There's so many ways, and I would say another hint from my side, keep it very simple. Talk slow, because people are not that smart as you think. They might be professors, but you catch them with your intro, and you catch them with setting the stage, and you get them and you see that they're interested when you do things. But talk slow, and get to your closure, and let the line hang there, and don't talk that freaking much.
And also try to avoid these obvious sentences that everybody uses, because everybody heard them so often, and you instantly tune off your attention.
Let us do some bullshit bingo in the die-casting industry. Global, top quality, strategic development partner. I
think we should print some cards. End of February, we at the German Foundry Association conference. I think we should print some of these bullshit bingo cards.
Yeah, but the sad thing, is that they are global. They are strategic development partners. But the question is, does that make me attracted to start work there? I got a new job and I the international strategic development partner. Yeah, that goes when you're 22, it's fresh out of the university, if you're a little bit career centered. But 90% of people will think, okay, but is that just bullshit, or is he actually doing that because it sounds bigger than you as a person?
Exactly, especially as soon as you start questioning, okay, and what do you do there?
I'm sharpening pens.
Exactly, bringing coffee and kissing the butts of some automotive executives. I don't know. Make it simple. And especially in simplicity, it makes you the biggest expert. If you sound overly complicated, it's usually a sign that you really haven't understood the topic. But if you can break it down into simple terms, that makes you the expert, because you make it accessible for everyone and know how to tune the depth of that.
I would like to put another thing into it. We have our model. We say keep it simple. Don't try to be someone else. If your style is to wave with your hands and you're born in Italy, I love that when, the gestures. I don't understand all the gestures because I'm from Sweden and we sit like this. But don't try to be super cool if you're not. If you're nervous, say that you're nervous. If you're nervous, let it show. No one cares. They just like you more because you're real. If you like to have jeans, a white t-shirt, and, I don't know, a hoodie, then wear a jeans and a t-shirt and a nice hoodie. Because Mark Zuckerberg has done it the whole life, except in Senate when they're shouting at him. And it works, And he's just himself. And I think this is priceless in this day and age with all the photoshopping and filters and videos, and everything is so perfect. And then you meet a real person. And people like that. So don't try to be Superman if you're not. Be yourself.
Be yourself and focus on the important thing. So as we had it in our introduction, cut out everything that can be Googled on the company homepage. So no introduction of the company. Nobody cares who you're selling to. Everybody wants to know, why are you on stage? What is the problem you're solving? And how do you do it? And that should be understandable by grandma.
I live very close to Bühler. I respect Bühler. I almost say that I love Bühler. We are an old Bühler foundry. At the top of our career, we had 35 Bühlers producing parts in telecom. They have told me so many figures and so many things that I have forgotten. But I remember one thing, the story how they started with die casting. Have you heard that one?
No, please tell it.
The old guy Bühler was doing agriculture stuff. I don't know if it was separation of cream and milk or whatever it was, but that was the start. And he was buying casted aluminum parts, and he felt that they were so shitty. And then he went to the supplier and saw the machines and said, oh my gosh, you cannot build a machine like that. And Bühler built a die casting machine. and sold to these guys. And that's the story. That's how they actually walked in there, realized this is something we can do with a better quality. There was a need, there was a customer, there was an application, and boom, boom, 100 years later or whatever it is now, no one is questioning if a builder has a good quality. But that story I remember because it was so simple and it was so fulfilling of a need. I kind of like that. If I was the marketing manager Bühler, this is probably where I will start more presentations.
Yeah.
But then I'm a Bühler fan.
Yeah, I think I like the things. I call it the KISS principle. Spelled like the Kiss of Love or the rock band KISS.
Yeah.
And it stands for keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
Reduce it to the max, that you just have the bare bone of your message and there's nothing obstructing what you want to tell them. So we need more KISS in the foundry industry.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great ending. Thank you for that, Fabian. And today I say på återseende, which is sayonara in Swedish. Bye.
Goodbye.